Mm. Hello, everyone. Welcoming you all here. Welcoming witches, wizards, and warlocks to our Witches New Year chat tonight on Witchy Talk. I'm Nicola Robinson of Soul Alignment Sanctuary in New Zealand, coming in with Sophia. Welcome, Sophia. How are you?
Wonderful. Sending some love from the AZ to the NZ and everything in between.
Yeah. Loving it. I'm just going to check some of the tech stuff, and it looks like everything is being streamed and we don't have any echo coming through. So we're all set up good. So I'm just going to make this a bit bigger so I can see you better. So, yeah, we're here to
Yeah.
celebrate. I absolutely love this time of year, even though I'm in New Zealand, celebrating Samhain and Halloween, is just so prominent here, even though we're in Beltane, and it's kind of like the two meet a meeting, like that, the end and the beginning, like they just all culminate together in the one. So it's quite incredible for us here because we have spring coming forth and all of the blooms and shoots and everything's coming to life. But because Samhain is so prominent, in this global psyche, in the witches and the pagans and the wizards and all of us who love all of
Yeah.
this esoteric, witchy, good stuff, you can still feel the shadow and feel what is still waiting to be transmuted and what can we surrender and let go of to move forward, to spring forward where we are. So yeah, kind of it's like a massive melting pot or melting cauldron. Yeah, it's so exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's something wonderfully cool that we shared too with our podcast is, I'm in the AZ, you're in the NZ. So, Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, it truly is everything in between as I'm moving into the winter months here. We're celebrating the summer's end, the harvest, and moving into the darker times of the year. And you are springing forward, and so there's always that balance, right? And the dark and the light, and I think that's really cool too.
I think, yeah, balance is so important, in our lives and going forward and in any magic that you create and any, thought processes and, decision makings and anything that we're going through. Like,
Mhm.
keeping ourselves balanced internally, our masculine and our feminine, our
Mhm.
giving and receiving, being
Mhm.
productive, making sure we're relaxing, not overdoing it, taking time for ourselves. Like the balance is just so important. And yeah, I love that we have the seasonal balance between us as well. Like it's just, yeah, it's really incredible to experience and,
It is. It is. It's like full circle,
yeah.
and I know that anytime that we meet in this space, it truly is magical and definitely consider you a soul sister. And it's beautiful that we're able to make this connection over the World Wide Web with many of those that join us with our podcast. So thank you all for tuning in and it's always lovely to share this time in this space. Um, so
Yeah.
thankful and grateful for celebrating the season. 'Tis the season of the witch, and
Mm.
with that, I'm honored to call myself a witch, and in essence, claim that and reclaim that proudly and
Mm.
confidently, and knowing that each one of our practices is unique
Mm.
to us and what we do and how we do it, and
Mm.
having the opportunity to share that in
Mm.
this time and space is something truly um, beautiful and in sense of privilege too. Um, it's hard for me during this time to not spend some moments reflecting on those that have gone before us, right?
Mm.
We have the opportunity to share this space and these words and encouragement for one another, and that's something that truly I'd love to see more of. When we go back to um, history and the witch hunts and, those that were wrongfully accused and tried and, you know, um, hundreds of thousands of people that lost their life just to practice, you know. Um, so, not to be morbid or anything, but also honoring that we are given the opportunity to share and to care and to uplift and support one another, And so a lot of that journey it's been healing that too, and hope to, transmute and transform and change those things within the community as well.
Yeah, definitely, that sharing of knowledge and wisdom, across, time for you and I, we are in different time zones. So, in essence, that is magic. And that we're able to communicate within, um, yeah, these new systems of being able to network together and support each other and
Mhm.
and lift each other up and sharing our practices and kind of breaking down the gatekeeping around practices and around, outright like disregard and kind of like accusations for,
Mhm.
pronunciations of certain things or, that's not how you read, that's not the right way to read, a tarot spread. It's like, well, that's how I read a tarot spread, and that's what resonates with me. So,
Yeah,
yeah, and yeah, it's like a breaking down, essentially of that that we're, really wanting to do with all of this communication and connection, with one another in the different circles that we're in with different women and overlapping in different groups and things to really share um, honestly and with integrity, like what we're doing, but also in a sense of like wanting to learn from one another and in a place of respect for someone else's practice, So yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. And more of the sharing and less of the comparing, right? It's not a competition, truly. I mean, I think in any time right now is
Mm,
the time that we should truly be lifting each other up.
mm,
You know, I'm a bit of a historian, and I enjoy reading those type of things because I feel in a sense that I honor those times and understanding what happened, how it happened, and how I don't want to be on that side of history,
mm,
right?
yeah.
I think, we've all dealt with I know I personally in my journey have dealt with persecution and different things and what I may equate to a quote unquote modern day witch hunt and
Mm,
being persecuted by those in the church and hierarchy and all of that I know what that feels like,
mm,
so um looking at it now and having the opportunity to change that and rewrite history in a sense. Wouldn't it be a beautiful thing to say now there are a community of witches and people, practitioners, and spiritual people that can get together and lift one another up,
mm. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and,
Definitely.
and rewrite history in that sense.
Mm, yeah.
Wouldn't that be a beautiful thing?
Totally. And people who are witches and pagans and light workers and shadow workers and, sound healers, all overlapping and sharing and integrating and learning from each other. And yeah, like, yeah, this melting pot is really where it comes from. And what we are doing now with this creating this magic through our own ritual and invocations, declarations, maybe candle magic, affirmations, manifestation, whatever we're doing, within what we deem as magic and being a witch now, a lot of those people that were sentenced and burned and perished were essentially not necessarily even practicing much of that,
Yeah, yeah,
They were midwives and,
yeah,
just herbalists, and not saying that that's not a
yeah.
valid thing, but they would, have, chamomile tea if you're, if you
You
just want to
got
relax.
cramps,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Exactly. And this demonization of the feminine that's come through from the church and from immobilizing women's communication then, because there
Mhm.
was this, I personally feel like an innate fear that women gathered together the intellect and the know-how and the creativity and problem solving, we know today with men and the balance and all these different things, there was a
Yeah,
fear
yeah.
then, and that really came out of that, yeah, separation, creating separation between
Yeah.
women, um, in their communication of their practices and supporting one another.
Mm,
Definitely.
mm.
Yeah.
And that goes deep, when we talk about the quote unquote witch wound, right?
Mm,
And how, yeah, exactly that separation and
mm,
keeping us apart, right? You
mm,
know, and a lot of the patriarchy and stuff, and not talking badly about our male witches out there. I think it's so important for male witches to be a voice.
mm,
I think about 90% of my friends are male, and
mm,
they're some of the biggest feminists I know. And
mm,
I'm like, yes, that's fucking awesome.
mm,
Please keep doing that. We need more of that support.
mm.
Um, but it's just like anything else, I know that definitely I would have gone down as a heretic, for speaking against the fact of, anything that did not support the church or that cause. I mean, I could look at you the wrong way and your cow died or it rained, and I was charged as a witch,
Mm, mm, mm.
um, and, uh, executed.
Yeah.
And that's what are we doing? Hopefully we're no longer executing each other, right? In one form or another,
Mm,
right?
mm,
By our words or our actions.
mm, mm,
Um, so, if anything, I think in my practice, it's made me more mindful of what side of history do I want to be on,
mm, 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 mm,
and what can I do now to change that,
mm,
right? Um,
mm, mm.
looking back at history as a reference to say I don't want to go there again. Um,
Mm.
I mean, that's kind of how I look at it. And so I I take a time during this time of year to honor those um, that have gone before us, and also doing a lot of ancestral work as well,
Mm.
and honoring our ancestors and those that have gone before us. Usually about this time of year, and Hallows Eve, which is the eve of All Saints Day. We celebrate November 1st through the 3rd, honoring our ancestors, not necessarily their death, but their life.
Mm.
Um, so it's a very special time of the year. Not only that, with the veil being thin, and
Mm.
you know, further enhanced communication and divination, and whatever tools you use. Um, yeah, so I've been doing some traveling over the
Yeah.
last couple of weeks, and I had it in mind this year that I really wanted to make it a point to visit places and graves of the unknown, or those that have not been visited.
Mm.
Um, this is something that came to me a few months back.
Mm.
Um, so traditionally, for Day of the Dead, All Souls Day, we'll usually clean up cemeteries, um, plant and bring in a lot of marigolds, which are thought they're sent to guide our spirits and our ancestors home,
Mm.
uh, to share an evening with us, to share a meal with us.
Mm.
Um, so usually I will set a table out with a meal that's shared with family and friends, and keep a few open seats for those that have passed to come and share a meal with us,
Mm.
and visit the cemetery. I have a couple local cemeteries with relatives and those that have passed,
Mm.
and take them offerings of flowers or their favorite food or drink.
Mm.
Um, but I've had it in mind to visit some places and spaces, and so over the last couple weeks I've been traveling, and what do you know, I found myself at like three different cemeteries I've never been just driving. And
Yeah.
it seemed like, oh, I'm on a road. There's this memorial cemetery here. Wow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and after this recent trip, I was like, okay, obviously they heard me. This is what I had in mind. So I'm here. I must
Yeah.
visit.
Yeah.
So it's been pretty neat, man. And to me, those are those magical moments where, when I find myself in moments of uncertainty, and I think we all may experience that, like, what am I doing, or that self-critic, coming in, like, what am I doing with my time, or questioning things, so to say. And then when things align like that, and it's like, okay,
Mm-mm.
I'm on to something here, so um that has been really, really beautiful.
Mm.
Um and I was thinking of one of my uncles. I've been really, really thinking about him, and he
Mm.
came to mind. And so I had visited this place I'd never been before in my home state, and he came to mind. And so
Wow.
um yeah, so my aunt, she just turned 90, and I was like, I'm gonna stop by and visit her, because they had a huge, huge birthday party for her, and I was out of town, and I said, I've got to stop by. And I said, yeah, I've been thinking about, my Theo, my uncle. And come to find, that weekend was like his death anniversary. And the cemetery I was in was his hometown, which he was born.
Mm.
And so then I found myself going through the registry, because I'm like, I don't know what the connection is to this cemetery.
Mm.
And like his brother and his dad were from there. And so I was talking to my aunt and her sons, and they were like, oh yeah, we have family buried there,
Mm.
and I'm like,
Wow.
wow, okay.
Yeah.
And it just so happened to be like that date, that time, and that he had come to mind. And so I
Wow.
had to
Yeah.
I had to ask. And so it's those moments that
Mm.
I'm reminded that,
Yeah. It's the
yeah,
subtle synchronicities, right? It's when, yeah, when those synchronicities show up a lot. You feel when you definitely feel it innately when
yeah,
those synchronicities show up, but it is showing you that you're really following the right path of the flow, or the steps that you're taking, the decisions that you're making are taking you into all these synchronicities. So you're in alignment, you could say. The Jungian, I think it was Carl Jung, or what, Freud? Carl Jung, the shadow, when you've integrated your shadow. And I love doing shadow work. So yeah, once you've had this process called individuation, you're closer and
mm,
closer to that. The more synchronicities that come up in your life and
yes,
things that you're noticing, you're getting closer to fully integrating your shadow, because you're in flow with life now. You're not being triggered by the things around you. Life isn't triggering you. Life isn't like coming at you constantly. You're not feeling attacked. So you can flow with life, and then you're open to noticing those synchronicities and hearing, the voice to say to go to that cemetery, and then that all just lined up perfectly with
yeah,
other family members being there, like that's a massive synchronicity, and an alignment with like the steps that you're taking, the decisions that you're making, So when we have those things come up around us and we, yeah, really notice, then yeah, we can be grateful for that alignment.
absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely. And it is that feeling of, and I think it's going back to ourselves, right? Like, for me, it's been this connection to myself,
Yeah.
before all the bullshit, right? Letting the baggage go, this time reflecting on, releasing what no longer serves us, and knowing that I choose to move forward on this path, right? Letting it go so we can let it flow.
Yeah.
And that's when we find ourselves in that state of flow and alignment, where things just come through
Mm.
naturally, as they're meant to be, or so we will it to be, by
Mm.
taking an active step, taking an active role in the path that I choose.
Mm.
Um, and when you do find those moments, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
I found myself in tears, I was like, and I was on this trail. I was at the Grand Canyon,
Yeah.
and I was on this trail, and I had done this trail like I've been visiting this place like it's my fifth time this year, and I'm an AZ native, and I just really felt drawn to the place. I took myself for my birthday this year, and I've just been like the lure to go there,
Yeah.
It truly is grand, but
Mm.
this Sunset Trail I do, Nicola, I've done, I've been doing over the last few months since July, and I'm like, I'll just go there, expecting that I know where I'm going. I'm going to go to the same place.
Yeah.
I'm going to take this little walk up this hill, and you know, and this time around, I sent you these pictures of these trees. I had not seen that before.
Yeah.
This it
Yeah.
was totally like wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow.
Awesome.
Um, and so I'm on this like back path, and next thing you know, I'm in a cemetery. you know, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
here I'm just gonna roll with it.
It's
Um,
showing up.
it just showing up, and
Mm.
the way that the sun was setting, and the way that it was cutting through the trees and the
Yeah.
pines, and it was just like these orbs and these stars glowing on these graves,
Yeah, wow.
and and again, many of them that were like from the 1800s, and some that were just wood and
Mm.
left unmarked. And um, I sat there for some time and visited with them. And I mean, just when I say magical, magical things like pine cones were falling from the tree, right?
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
like pine cones were falling from the tree, and there were these two graves side by side.
Yeah.
And the way that the pine cones had fell on the graves
Yeah.
were in shapes of hearts.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's
The
a
way
great.
that they fell down, and I'm like, dude, like when you see this stuff, it's like, okay, yeah,
Mm-mm. Yeah. 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 It's showing you something. It's definitely a sign. Totally.
yeah. So I thought
Totally.
that was like really cool. I was like, yeah,
Mm.
it definitely put a smile to my face because,
Yeah.
it's something that was truly um special, and something that I wanted to honor and make it a point this year. I had told myself
Mm.
to visit, I think sometimes, as time goes on, and, going back to the history again, that, come this time of year, I can't help but think of witches, and the witch trials and the witch hunts. But the remaining of the year, some things that are just, I don't want to say brushed under the rug. It's not that I fixate on it or think about it all the time,
Mm.
but the reality of it is that it happened,
Mm.
and
Exactly.
it's still happening,
Mm-mm.
like,
Yeah.
maybe not to the gravity of what it was then,
Mm.
but it's still happening. It's still
Yeah.
happening, parts of the witch
Oh,
doctors in the Caribbean, and,
yeah.
different places. I mean, truly.
Mm.
Um, and
And
I,
then,
and I,
yeah, totally.
yeah,
And
right?
even like the Satanic Panic in the 90s, like that was
Oh
like a
my
whole
gosh.
other version of it, really. The fear that, was in people at that time because of, projections from the church and just this escalation in culture, pop culture, um,
Oh, for
and
sure.
yeah.
Heavy metal music. I was a part of that.
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm a small town girl, and I experienced that firsthand. I mean, it's real stuff.
Yeah. 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 Full on. So yeah, this witch wound that is still just so prevalent from that time, and even, I've experienced like the sister wound, you can call it the witch wound. I mean, it goes both ways because you can have the witch wound with the masculine, and it was like this massive dividing of the masculine and the feminine at that time
Oh,
as well, because there was a fear created around men in the patriarchy and, being
yeah,
prosecuted for what you were saying and doing and wearing
yeah.
and, yeah, speaking about, your beliefs and, That's why
Oh
I'm really
yeah.
passionate about doing past life regressions as well, because we can like go back to these different, incarnations that we've had and do massive clearing. And, when I do a past life regression, I like to go in and we're not just going in and looking at it, which I've done regressions that are like that, but we're going in, we've talked about this in last Witchy Talk,
Oh yeah.
where you're doing massive clearings when we're going in there and releasing and this huge blockage around the throat chakra and speaking and sharing, and yeah, I've totally experienced it within, with
Mm.
friends over the years, since being really young.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's a you know, it's a big it's a big hurdle. It can be, especially if you're sensitive and shy when you're growing up, when you're young and you're already
For sure.
struggling with sharing. And if you get shut down, quite a bit when you're little, then it is activating that past life, that witch wound within you. And that's why some people can just go into catatonic shyness, because it is not necessarily from this life, because it can happen from being so little that it's like these memories coming
Yeah.
through and impacting. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
Fascinating.
interesting, and I think that's something both you and I have experienced, as a
Mm,
young child,
mm,
um, and that kind of, I guess, pushing ourselves away, right?
mm.
And having those wounds
Yeah.
triggered or reopened at such a level, where I think as a 4-year-old child, how could I even understand the depth of this, right?
Yeah.
But it's something
Exactly.
that is so deeply
Yeah.
integrated, whether it's cellular memory or
Mm,
that past life being re-triggered for, I, I mean, ultimately healing,
mm,
right?
mm, mm.
But being such a young age, do you know how to process that at that time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Mm,
Yeah, I think that's truly wonderful what you're doing
mm,
as a healer and those offerings,
mm,
Nicola. I know that I've spoke to a session that I've done with you and the clarity that it has provided to me. And I
mm,
think that's truly special because,
mm,
oftentimes, we may just see the scope of what's going on, like right there, but not understanding that it is from something deeper than that,
mm.
right?
Yeah, totally. Totally, totally. Yeah, I went to it was actually an astrology session, but she talked about past lives and she said that it was something really high, like 80%, 90, 80, I don't think it was 90, really high percent of the time we're operating in the world from past life, like energy that's coming through in terms of like our reaction, our negative reaction to the outside world. It's like this past life energy that comes through. And if we're really old souls on the world, on living on
Yeah.
the earth at this time, and I know there's newer souls, but
Yeah.
we could have lived thousands of lives. We were like, totally. It was like a Japanese dude making sushi, and then I was like some guy in Hawaii, and there was an Egypt, and it could be all over the place. And I was watching something, and I think it was Robert Edward Grant again, and he was talking about how he has learnt so many languages and learnt so many different things in his life, is that he tapped into the past life energy of when he did that and allowed that to come
Wow.
through, and it meant that he could learn stuff a lot quicker. So
Mm,
I'm not at that level yet of how I want to offer my past life regressions, but that's what I'm going to be cultivating next, is like, how can we go in so you can bring out like the wisdom from that life, and it doesn't have to
mm,
be like I was, like a high priest or a saint, or I was, someone, wisdom keeper. I was one of the scribes in the Library of Alexander. If you could go back to that and
right.
then, open that up, but it doesn't even have to be intricate, magical stuff like that. It could just be like, yeah, I want to learn how to do bonsai or, you know, I want to tap into, just growing, cultivating a better vegetable garden. Like, you
For
can look up
sure.
and learn stuff, but let's tap into a past life energy where maybe you had that as well. So, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's beautiful. And then that goes back to connecting to ourselves, right?
Mm,
Tapping into that long line of soul wisdom that we've carried,
mm,
right? And uncovering it from that baggage and the bullshit and those wounds and those triggers, and
yeah.
really getting down to where we can find ourselves in an open space to envelop that into our lives here now,
Mm.
right?
Oh, definitely. And then, you could look at like ancestral healing in the same way, we so often think about like our ancestral lineage and like healing from like the wounds that are coming through from those ancestral lines, but there's also the wisdom
Mm,
that we can bring through from the ancestors. So it's like there's these two opposites of you know, what we can heal within those and what we can look at and honor. And when we're honoring the ancestors and doing that, you know, if we're here today, then our ancestors lived at the time of the witch wound, the time, sorry, at the time
mm,
of the witch trials, whether or
that's
not they
true.
were in the vicinity of it directly, but, they lived in those times. And so there is, on our past ancestral lineage, there's going to be also, yeah, wounds that filter down from that as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
your fire's looking pretty good there.
It just came back up. It was going
Yeah.
out for a second, so
Yeah.
just had to give it some love.
Yeah.
Trying to stay warm, guys, over here.
Yeah,
Keeping
it's
the
getting
flames
chilly there.
lit.
Yeah, we had a chilly day too.
Yeah,
I'm I'm just gonna turn my lights on because it's just gotten darker. So I'm just gonna get some more light happening.
absolutely. Yeah, so doing some of my studies
Yeah, how's that going?
with it's been great. Lots of really cool stuff that has come up and a lot of things I've been tapping into. You talk about the vegetable gardening and whatnot. I started gardening. It's going to be my sixth season moving into, and it's something I always wanted to do. And it's quite interesting because as I've been working our garden space here, I come to find that, I come from a lineage of farmers,
Mm,
ancestral Pueblo and formerly the Anasazi natives that lived here in the desert Southwest in the Four Corners area were well known for their farming abilities. And so that has been really interesting because, I'm like, I kill cactus, but I'm growing vegetables. Like I've got this vegetables. I mean, everything from, turnips to tomatoes to greens to broccoli. And I'm like, where did this come from?
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
just having that connection with
Mm,
earth in that way has been wonderful.
mm,
Um, I've had the opportunity to connect with the night skies and doing night hikes and offering that for those in the community to get under the stars and under the moon, and um, advocating for our nocturnal wildlife, which is something I'm very passionate about, the owls and the bats and the coyotes and scorpions and all those creepy crawly arachnids. And so that has been wonderful. And working with the local nature program here and working with reptiles and beetles and insects and all that good stuff. And so
snakes.
it actually, yeah, it's felt really good to connect to that. I'm like, it feels right, when you have those moments where you're like, yeah, this is where I need to be,
Yeah. You can get out into
Um,
nature, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did a lot of
And
planting today as well in our
you
vegetable garden.
mentioned that. That's
Yeah.
freaking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. We've
And
got one, two, three, four. I think we've got like five different areas that we grow vegetables in. So like all around the
dude,
property to catch, that get the most sunlight in different areas with different yeah, different like carrots, and we planted corn today and heaps of different tomato varieties, red onion, these weird looking courgettes that are just like round balls instead of like a long courgette. It's just like we've never had them before, and I saw them, so we bought them and planted them to see what they'll do. So yeah, lots of potatoes, and yeah, I've got fig
that's
trees
freaking
as well.
awesome.
So I think this will be like the fourth year for the figs, and I still haven't had any fruit. So I'm
Okay.
hoping that this summer is the summer
They're
that they have
coming.
fruit.
They're
Come on,
coming.
it's
Yeah.
coming. Come on.
They're coming. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
harvesting some lemons I planted, and it's again, 5 years I put them. I have like three potted lemons,
Yeah.
and this year they fruited. I
Yeah.
have fruit on the tree I'm looking at right now, like
Yeah.
probably at least 20
Wow.
fruited, and they're kind of sweeter and they're really
Yeah.
nice, but it took a few years, but they
Yeah.
eventually we get there, right? We get there to where we're blooming, we're fruiting, we're
Mm-mm.
harvesting the fruit of that.
Mm,
So
mm.
um in
And
the
the fact that some
meantime,
things can take that long to fruit, like that long to put their roots down and that long to get
mm,
used to their environment and know, and then they can produce fruit. So we all have this, the
it's kind
analogy
of
of
like
the
us, right?
seed. Yeah, totally. The be patient, and we've heard it plenty of times before where the gardener that plants the plants the seed and then digs it up 5 minutes later to see if it's done anything. Like the
Oh, for
next
sure.
day, have you done anything? You can't
Oh,
keep
for
on
sure.
like digging it up to see if it's done anything. And we do that with ourselves. So, you know, um, giving ourselves the time to plant the seed. And I've had that come through for me recently where
Mm,
yeah, I had a Reiki exchange with someone who lives in Arizona actually. When you
okay.
came on the call with the circle, the other woman in the circle that lived in Arizona, she did a healing with me, and this beautiful vision came through. And I've seen this vision of the property that I want to own before, but I've only ever seen like the house and like a little bit of land. But
Okay.
I know that I want a lot of land to repropagate and plant and and bring it back to its fullest potential of like native bush. So
Mm,
and
mm,
so, yeah, in this beautiful, Reiki session where there was no guidance, just my own internal, visions. And yeah, I saw the land, and at points I turned into a bird and was just flying over this land, and I could just
oh my
see, and it was so
gosh.
clear, like I was there. Like it just felt like I was time traveling. I time traveled into the future to see what it was
Oh
going to look
yeah.
like. That's like literally what it felt like. And so yeah, so like this connection to the land and planting and nurturing and nourishing. And they say that the person who plants an oak tree is not thinking about themselves at all because they're not going to be around to see an oak tree in its grandest form. They'll be
Right.
gone before it is the big grandmother oak tree
Yeah.
in its fullest
Yeah.
prime. So yeah, the person who plants these trees that are going to be phenomenal, massive, you're not thinking of yourself, you're thinking of, the generations to come. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
it's a
we're
big,
the ones planting those trees, right? For
yeah,
future generations moving forward, right?
exactly. And these trees are like the programs that you're offering and, the things that we're creating for ourselves to nurture ourselves, because these are the things that are nourishing for us and we want to share them. And, these things that are helping us, you're offering these to people. Well, for me personally, because this is where I'm at, past life regression is
Mm,
like what I'm sharing a lot with people because that's where I'm at. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm going through, and I'm really looking at doing like this, shifting and continuing to offer the past life regression and continuing to mold that, but doing some more ancestral healing and creating these
mm.
ancestral deep meditations and processes. Um, and I know there's plenty of people out there that are doing it, but I'm creating it based on what I'm doing internally for myself, maybe on plant journeys or whatever that are helping me to ground and realize and heal and connect or whatever needs to happen,
Yeah,
within the lineage and connecting to the grandparent entry, energy and bringing your guides in and things like that. So, yeah, it's all,
absolutely.
yeah, just these beautiful offerings. Yeah.
Absolutely, and then going back to, planting something, like you were speaking about earlier, and it taking its time
Mm,
to find its roots, to where
mm,
it's, sustained itself and has enough energy to bloom and
mm,
to provide fruit, right?
mm,
Um, there's a saying where, nature blooms on its own, right? You can't tell a flower when to bloom, right?
mm,
And
mm,
as a gardener, I have experienced that. I plant a seed and I'm like, okay, are you sprouting yet?
mm.
What's going on? Where are you?
Yeah. Totally.
You know, pa patience, right? Patience
Yeah.
is a virtue, and there's something to be said about
Mm,
trusting the process,
mm.
right?
Yeah, it's
And
funny. Oh, were you going to go into something then? Yeah.
no, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it's trusting the process and knowing that
Mm,
I've sown the seed, I'm
mm, mm,
watering the seed, I'm trying to provide it
mm.
as best care as I can in the environment, in the space that I'm planting it,
Yeah.
but trusting, even though I can't see what's below the earth, that it is doing its thing, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is sprouting out, so it can grow up.
Mm,
Um and
yeah.
I think the most challenging moments is trusting that, because
Oh,
you can't
totally.
always see what's going on underneath, but it is going on.
Trusting it, but then kind of like almost like forgetting about it a little bit, but not in a disregarding way. So
Yeah.
today when we had done all the planting and we were looking around the property and just looking at all the other plants that are really flourishing and coming up. And I was standing there and I was like, where did that plant come from? And I went and looked at it closer and I was like, oh, this is a honesty plant. So the honesty plant comes up with this. I'll show you what they look like. You probably
Oh
know
wow.
anyway.
Oh
Um,
wow. I can't say I've ever heard of that actually.
it probably has a different name, but yeah, we call it honesty here. But it comes up with these. These are the seed pods. So
Oh my gosh,
this is the
dude.
this is the center of the seed pod. And so the
That
seeds
is
sit on either
beautiful.
side, and then they have a thicker coating on the outside. So when they drop off, they flow in the wind. So I'm collecting these because I want to, if I do get married, I want these to be thrown at my wedding. Because look at how they float down.
Yes. And then to have an honest marriage, right?
Yes, exactly. And so I had planted all of these seedlings around the back of the house, and I had this massive tray, and I'd ordered these seedlings online, and I planted them all, and I was checking them. I was checking them for ages. I was checking, and they weren't coming up, and forgot about them for a while. And then I went and checked, and some of them were coming up, and then I left it for too long, and some of them had died. Anyway, there were a couple, and I took them out and I put them into bigger pots, and then I just like completely forgot about them. And then mum had obviously had a tidy up around the back of the house, and she'd moved probably the only one that survived out of this whole tray, probably like 30 little seedling tray, this one. And so I spotted it from the deck across into the garden. It was still in its pot. And I was like, what is that? So I went closer and I could see all these little pods coming up, but they were fresh and green. So they hadn't gone brown yet and ready to collect. And I hadn't actually seen them in that form before. And I was like, oh my God, it's the honesty plant. I
Oh my
completely forgot
gosh.
about it. And so
Oh
I
my gosh.
allowed it the space and the time without going and looking at it and going and looking at it. I mean, like, are you ready yet? Are you ready yet? Can I collect these yet? So, sometimes it's about set it and forget it. And that's a manifestation term that's out there in the
Mm.
community. And it's like you set your intention and then you forget it, because if you're constantly focusing on it, then you are there's a lack. There's like a
Yeah,
neediness
I get what you're saying.
attached
Right.
that you don't actually have it yet. Um, so yeah, there's that. Yeah, that happened today. I was like,
Oh my gosh, that's
yeah,
freaking awesome.
I was so stoked.
And
Totally.
those are beautiful.
That,
They look like shimmery,
that's so
shiny.
pretty, eh? I'll see if I can pour some.
Yeah, it looks almost like a shell almost.
Yeah.
Oh, that's freaking beautiful. Oh, that is magic right there.
I've been
That is
collecting
the
them for
beauty of
years.
magic right there. Yeah.
I've got jars somewhere. I think in my storage unit, I've got like heaps of jars of them around. And I just, in the last year, they grow wild. So every now and again you see them and you just, yeah, go and collect them. But I decided that I'd try and grow my own. So
That's freaking beautiful, Nicola. I can't say that I've ever seen that before. I'm gonna have to research that now.
yeah, I'll look up yeah, its other name and yeah, we'll let you know.
Yeah, that truly is beautiful. Wow. Yeah, I
So,
love that.
I thought maybe I could guide like a little process. We could go into a little short meditation or visualization, something to do with like, yeah, the witch's new year or putting down roots or visualization. I don't actually know. We'll just see what comes in.
Yeah, well, I've been looking at those oracle decks and your beautiful altar space and your candles behind you too. Like if if anyone would totally be open, somewhere in this session if you'd like to share something and see what comes through for everyone moving forward into
Yeah.
the new year. I
Yeah, we
think
could
that'd
do
be cool
that.
too.
Could do that before we go into the process.
Yeah.
Let's do these ones. Some of these are quite new for me, so I want to use some of my newer ones. I've got this one since we're talking about a lot about
Beautiful.
plants. We've got the herbal astrology, which is so beautiful.
Nice.
And then these are new as well. I got them for my past life
Oh my
regression.
gosh.
To past life.
Yeah, I have a couple of her decks. I like her stuff.
Mm-mm-mm.
It's
Oh, cool.
beautiful.
I think these are
I
my
haven't
first.
seen that one yet. That's a new one.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. This was the first time I'd ever seen it, so I bought it straight away, and it was just a
Wow.
few days before my event. So, well, the event that I co-hosted was some. I thought I would, yeah, grab them.
Nice.
So yeah.
I was looking for a candle tonight. I found this on my ancestral altar, and it is a yellow candle, and it smells like a lemon verbena almost.
Nice.
Um, but it's really lovely. And so when I think of the color yellow and candles, and I think of community and friendship and
Mm,
gathering. And so,
mm.
um, yeah, so it is. It
Yeah.
has been lit, and for everybody tuning in and those that will tune in,
Mm,
um, we are all part of this community and this space. And so I encourage you to take some time during this season to light a candle and think about the community and how you are a part of it.
mm. Beautiful. Thank
Yeah,
you, Sophia.
yeah.
Um, yeah. Let's see what wants to come in. So yeah, these I've had these cards for probably about a month now. So still connecting in with their flow. Oh, we might get three for us. We'll see what comes up. For the collective, those watching now on the replay. Mm. 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 Ooh. Oh, wow. I love these. So past, present, future, or it could, it can just be the journey and the flow for what you're in right now. But there's a lot of peace coming up. So the first one was the peaceful warrior. Like I say,
Mm.
these are my first cards I haven't had them for very long, so this is the first time for me looking at some of them. But this milk thistle is very beautiful, peaceful warrior, which is quite interesting for a thistle, which is usually is very pointed, for that to be bringing the peace through that. And then you've got the badger and then the breast milk coming through as well. So there's like this nurturing of what you've got coming in. This is like shrouding as well. So I mean for, Samhain and for you in the northern hemisphere, definitely like you're going inwards. And there's that, that nurturing that's coming through. I love it that it's surrounded on the edges as well. So there's like this encompassed
Yeah.
nurturing that's really coming through with that. And you've got the moon at the top, and you have got Mercury. Is that Mercury?
The symbol there,
Yeah. Mars.
yeah, it does look like Mars.
Yeah, I think it's Mars.
Huh.
Yeah. And so, yeah, there's that bit of masculine energy coming through with that
Yeah,
too.
the warrior spirit, right?
Mm, totally.
Masculinity,
Yeah,
strength.
definitely. Yeah.
Huh.
Yes. Yeah, the
That's
peaceful.
beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful. And then some more peace. So the peaceful warrior with inner peace, chamomile. But this is
Okay.
almost like the balance of where I am at with the spring, like there's the newborn and the new flowers, flowering life coming through there. And you've got the earth with the moon as well there. So there's that grounded balance with that psychic
Mm.
intuition coming through and that really nurturing earthly energy. Like I love that feeling when I
Oh
lie on the
yeah.
earth and I feel like I have that feeling like you lay on like well you live in the desert and you're like Sophia I can't feel that I live in the desert but when you when you
I
lie on
was just there. I was in the Grand Canyon and I'm looking at the deer on those cards.
oh
And
yeah.
I was walking through the trees. I'd sent you some pictures. Well, I shared something and this totally reminds me of that because I see the two deers on the card.
Nice.
So I was taking my trail. I spent some time in the cemetery. I was going out and I was headed back to camp
Mm.
and I could see four eyes glowing
Oh
and
wow.
staring at me.
Yeah.
And it was two deer sitting there at the entrance to the trail because
Wow.
it was already dark at this point. And
Yeah.
for some that might be scary, you're roaming in the dark, but I was so at peace amongst
Mm.
the trees. And I see these eyes staring at me, and I was like, oh man, because they're wild.
Yeah.
Um, and some of like the elks and stuff, they're really big animals.
Mm. Wow.
Um, but I knew they were there and I felt that peace,
Wow. Yeah.
and just connecting with the earth that way. So I get what you're saying. That's
Yeah.
there
Beautiful.
is something grounding about that,
Mm.
right?
Huge. Totally. And that
Oh
being
wow.
encompassed in the earth, right? That feeling when you can sink into the earth. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most in summer is like lying under the trees like that
Oh
and
my
just being
God.
able to be connected to the earth and look up through the trees and feel the grass on my skin, and just feel that deep relaxation where you can just take a deep breath in and just feel so peaceful. And
Mm,
she almost has like this stream of water coming out of her mind. Like it's not even from her eyes. It's almost from where her crown chakra would be, like this water. It's calming and it's splitting off in two directions. And so
mm.
it's almost like the roots from your ideas, your how the roots come out and they spread like that.
Well, that's
Mm,
beautiful. And it's like watering the earth at the same
yeah,
time, right? It's
yeah.
watering those thoughts and ideas.
Totally. And then we have cat's claw purification with a jaguar.
That's quite a spread you've got going on there, Nicola.
Yeah. Going through that inner peace to that purification. So if we
Oh,
can
that's beautiful.
feel so deeply into that internal inner peace and arrive at that point where we're at that inner peace within ourselves and everything that's happened in our lives, we've all dealt with shit. Like we've
Yeah,
all dealt with horrible shit, and if we can be at peace with everything that's happened, um, and come out the other side, this beautiful purification to be able to move on to the next thing that you're creating, without allowing those threads to kind of like hold us back and, you know, um, anchor us so much in the past that we can just move forward. And I love that that's actually a jaguar. Did get this card when I
yeah.
first got this deck, and so yeah, that jaguar energy coming through. But yeah, that familiar, that black cat. I have a part black cat, tortoiseshell.
Mm,
So
yeah,
we
yeah.
love our familiars. Um, and then let's just see with the time
Those are
traveler.
those are beautiful cards. I really like how they incorporate the herbs into that along with
Mm,
the animals. That's
yeah,
nice.
I saw this deck at a is that going the right way for you?
Yeah,
Yeah, from left to right. Yeah.
thank
So,
you.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank you for the message.
Yes. Yeah, I saw them at like a little mini festival gathering. Yeah.
That's nice.
Spiritual fair. And so yeah, I think it was a year later I saw them and ended up buying them.
It's lovely. Really lovely.
Let's see from the Time Traveler's Oracle within the past for whoever's watching and wants to come through. I like to wait for jumpers. Sometimes takes a while. Sometimes it's straight away. There we go. There's more. Wow. The
Okay.
Amazon. Wow. And that's got growth at the top, and you've got another big cat
Wow.
energy coming in. I love that.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
Yeah, that was close. So
Oh,
perfect.
wow. What a beautiful way to start the new year.
Yeah. Look at all that abundance and growth that's coming through from that inner
Wow.
peace and that purification. If we can
Hmm.
really, have that peaceful warrior energy, like we're still fighting for what we want, but in a
Mm,
peaceful way, if we're still bringing that warrior spirit through,
mm.
but in a peaceful way, not an aggressive way. And then we can also have the inner peace and the outer peace and that purification, then yeah, just this beautiful growth. How lush that is.
Wow. Yeah, that pops. Wow.
That is so lush.
You've got
Like,
a huge waterfall. It looks
yeah.
like some tropical plants and
Mhm.
flowers and a
It's a
toucan.
toucan, yeah. Beautiful sky. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it looks like the sky is like really like uh piercing, like it's expanding through all the greenery and
Mm.
everything, really
Yeah.
opening up.
Yeah, the glow coming down like it's a secret valley somewhere. I
Wow. Wow, wow.
love it. Yeah, so these are beautiful cards. I have connected with them definitely, but I like to take some time and color the edges of my cards so that they
Yeah.
yeah, just it's a nice way to connect with your cards so that you are spending a bit more time with them. These ones here just had a white edge, but I've gone through with a Vivid, a Sharpie, and made the edges all black. So yeah, it's just a nice way to spend more time with your cards and yeah, connect.
You've mentioned that before, and I think that's
Mm,
beautiful how you see that and you really bring a lot of that forward into to
mm.
building that connection, especially with the tools that you're using, right?
The chick who creates these cards, the woman who creates these cards, she's based in New Zealand. She suggests to do that in the booklet that she creates that goes with the cards. So it was her suggestion written in the book that that's
Awesome.
a brilliant way to connect with your cards. And sometimes you end up going over the edges a little bit. But yeah, but I think these ones I want to do like a gold, get like a gold pen and
Oh, that
make
would really pop.
yeah, gold, and then maybe like a blue, like a yeah, those shiny glitter type pens and see how they work with them. But it's a brilliant way to connect with them and then to sleep with them under your pillow. And then that
Yeah.
really like psychically connects you into the cards. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I thought that was really cool. You had mentioned that because I typically would sleep with them, for some it may be a week or I've had some even up to a month.
Mm,
But you had mentioned when I had got my first deck of tarot in separating the suits.
yeah. Mm,
And that was really like that really like up leveled it where it
it
just
does, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, wow.
I did that with these, and yeah, all your major arcana separate, and then all your separate suits. And yeah, I would usually be like, yeah, 5 days or a week for each suit. But at one point, I got really busy, and I forgot. I knew they were there, but I forgot. And you know,
I'm like, what is that lump behind my head? Oh my gosh. How long have I been sleeping with these?
they're under there. But there's books and other things, and I was really not anxious, but like there was just like a lot of like intense energy coming up. And I woke up one morning and I was just like reached under my pillow, stretched and then picked them up and looked at them. I was like, oh my God, I've had the swords cards under my pillow for like a month. No wonder I'm feeling like really like hectic energy like coming in.
Oh my gosh.
I took them straight out and then put the pentacles under my pillow to like bring the earth energy in and just like slow everything down. Yeah. So yeah, there is this like osmosis that you can get from the energies of these things, right? And
Mm.
I can't remember if I've told the story to you before. It's quite funny on Witchy Talk. I can't remember if I've said it or not, but I don't have any bedside tables, so quite often I've got all my books under my pillows. And at one point, I had Transcendental Magic and Damien Eccles' High Magic and all of these like quite esoteric occult books like in the corner under my pillows, and then probably some cards as well. It just like was getting a little bit intense. And I woke up in the night and my like head was like literally in the books, and I was like on a weird angle across the bed that I've never ever been on before. And I was like, where am I? And
Oh wow.
I was like, oh shit, I'm in the books. And so I just put them back and put a pillow over them to keep them a bit separate, and then like lay properly on the bed again. And then like, I don't know, like a few hours later, like my head was in the books again. And I woke up and I was back in there. And I was like, and I was having wild dreams as well. Yeah. Um, I think that's when I had the dream that I told you about the Dante's, the descent into the
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I remember that.
dream. And so that's when I was like, okay, I've got a few too many books under my pillows that my brain's trying to like, osmosisly connect into. And there's that funny meme that you see or that reel, and it's like this Asian kid in Japanese, he looks Japanese, with the classroom around him, and all the kids are sitting there reading, and he's got his book open like this, and he's going like this. He's like scooping it, and he's going like this. He's scooping from the, and he's trying to, it's like
Yeah,
little like 5-year-old kid. And everyone's like, ha ha ha, if that could, if that could be the way. But, you know, if it can, yeah, it
it
can be,
can be the
can
way,
be the
right?
way. It can be the way. If you can get out of your own way, it can be the way. And so that I do that with, yeah, putting them under my pillow and, really connect in more with the book that you're trying to read, especially if it is like something a bit more, esoteric or witchy or out there, or it's wisdom that you're trying to like infuse. Um,
For sure.
yeah, so that's part of my practice. That's part of my, yeah, witchy connecting in to the energies of what you're wanting to read and the energies of the book, the person that wrote the book as well. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
Mm-mm-mm.
That's interesting. I've noticed that as well too with like even I've had I've had some lapse in like memory in the sense like I contacted COVID and I had noted like afterwards like this long-term effects
Mm.
with like memory.
Mm.
And where I could go into great detail like 20 years back, but
Mm.
then we could talk and like 5 minutes later, what was that?
Mm. Mm.
So I had started recognizing like things that I wanted to remember, like putting them at my bedside or putting them on my pillow. And I felt that really I was absorbing
Mm.
what I wanted to remember. Like it actually surprised me. I'm like, I don't know how that worked or how it's working, but it's working,
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
you
totally.
know?
Totally. That subconscious connection and the intangible quantum realm that you're connecting to the energy of
Mm,
that. Like a photo is a portal. And you say that a lot of people say I only remember things from my childhood because of the photographs that I've seen. So you're remembering it from a photograph. And is that truly a memory if you're remembering it from a photograph? But
mm.
I don't know the answer to that, but but it's a good way to,
Yeah.
connect in. Hold on, my thing's just saying that my battery is low, but it's plugged in. So let me just make sure we're not
Okay.
gonna be cut off here. Make
Checking our batteries. All right. I've still got percentage. I was actually thinking ahead today, and I had this immediately when I got home from work tonight. I was like, I'm going to plug in, I'm going to charge up.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah. Um, I was gonna say something else to do with that too that you were just talking about.
Well, I was thinking about this today, and I think like for me, it's been scents.
Yeah.
There's certain smells that I remember from a kid that I would associate with something or a specific time in
Mm,
my life here.
yeah,
Um, I
definitely.
don't know what had come about tonight that I smelt something and I was taken back to walking down this old road with my mother.
Mm,
Every time I would pass by this certain spot in the road, I would smell the smell, and I've never smelt it before other than that. And
mm,
it took me back to that time.
wow. It's a
I
good.
don't know what brought that to that memory, the smell.
Yeah, it's that that unconscious connection. It really, yeah, that positive trigger point, like
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, like that. It is an anchor that's created, and that's part of the NLP programming that you can do. Like that's an anchor point, and you can create new anchor points with new fragrances to override old ones that are maybe not as desirable, but they when they're created, and that was created naturally with your grandmother, but we can reprogram our unconscious in that way as well, with scent and sound and phrases and things, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
yeah. That's really cool, actually. That's quite interesting to to think that you could have the ability to do that,
Yeah.
that is fascinating.
To repro.
To go back, in a sense, we're talking about rewriting history, to go back, get to the root of things and saying, I'm going to change this up a little bit, right? I'm going to rewrite it with something beautiful, something that's pleasant to me.
Mm,
Um, you know, creating what we see,
mm.
right? And how we perceive things, and bringing it into that reality.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, definitely. And that brings me back to what we talked about at the end of the last episode, where if we can radiate love into all of our different timelines, then it elevates this timeline. So it's like if we can in a sense, reprogram different experiences with that NLP programming, or, creating a new anchor point within that memory that is more positive, then yeah, we're like uplifting. And it's neuro linguistic programming, it's science, but that's what I call my magic. That's where my magic lies, even though it's a science-based practice. It is like the way that you guide someone through it is more magical than sitting down and doing it in a science-based way. Like I like to set ritual around it, set intentions, do some oracle cards around it, have the pendulum, do some clearing, set intentions, um, and really go into something to change it up in that way. So
Mm,
yeah, like those memories
mm.
that come up just naturally from fragrances around is, yeah, it's just quite phenomenal how that can happen. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, most
And be
definitely.
so
And I
like
mean,
vivid, like the vividness of it. Yeah.
yeah, it is. And it's been memories, and too, like having that sense of smelling. Like, I was at my aunt's house the other day, and I had smelled a cologne, and I'm like, there's a man in the room. I had smelled a very distinct cologne, and I was like, that smells like my grandfather.
Wow.
And I'm like, and then I heard something, and I was like, yeah, he's definitely here, because I had only it was so strong, and there was nobody else in the room,
Yeah, wow. So yeah.
you know. So there has to be, I think, some type of memory or space in my mind that's triggered by scent, to
Yeah,
where it does come through like that.
it's quite strong for you. When you're doing guided meditation or anything like that, do you get smell come through, scent and things, or you haven't noticed before?
Very visual with guided
Yeah, more
meditations.
visual. Yeah.
Yeah, very visual.
Yeah.
Um, Visual and sound, where
Mm.
I'll actually, if I'm taken away to another land, I will hear the sounds that are around me, whether I'm in a rainforest or I'm hearing a rattle,
Yeah.
a chant. Like,
Oh,
I'm taken there.
yeah. That's so
Yeah.
visceral. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Oh, cool. Yeah. Me too. Totally. Not so. Sounds are coming in, but yeah, it's interesting because my visualizations never used to be that strong. Oh, this is what I was going to
Mm,
say earlier as well.
mm, mm, mm.
It's quite funny, and I can't believe I'm going to share this because it was so hilarious when I was initially doing it. And me and my friend were joking that I'm just going to look absolutely insane if anyone catches me doing what I was.
Oh, spill the tea, spill the tea. I gotta hear it.
So I was like, okay, if I'm looking at my waking world, I want to be able to close my eyes and like visualize it really in detail around me. So what I would do is if I was looking at something, I would, focus on it and connect with it. And then I would close my eyes and try and imagine it, but I would open and close my eyes like quite quickly in between, like flicker my eyes to try and like just get that imprint in. But I would do it when I was eating dinner at my dining room table, and I would eat dinner by myself because mum and dad had dinner before me. And anyway, the people next door, if they were walking and they looked through the windows, they would have seen me like eating my dinner, but like blinking and opening my eyes really. Like,
what the fuck is going on?
What's going on there? But it really worked because I was like, at one point, I was kind of like I put myself into a trance, and like then I could like close my eyes and I could see my hands and I could see my food. And yeah, it was like a really like intense, like external, internal connection. And I like
Wow.
did it repetitively and slowly and then quickly and slowly again until I could just close my eyes and actually see it. So yeah. And then from doing that practice quite a lot with different things around me, yeah, then my dreams got stronger and more visual,
Interesting.
and then yeah,
Yeah.
my guided meditations got like more visual and more detailed as well. So yeah, that was a really cool
Wow.
about that until
Yeah, I mean that's pretty so using that instance
yeah.
basically to take you in and out, right?
Mm, yeah,
Like
totally. It was
like I'm here,
external
I'm eating.
reality, internal, external, internal. Yeah, until like the internal looked like the external. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Wow, that's
really,
really interesting.
I haven't done it in ages. That was like a few years ago. Maybe I should try doing that again for a while and then maybe, try and get to another level of like, dream expansion or that's an aspect of something that I bring through in my midnight alchemy program, which is like cultivating your sleep
Okay.
space. So that's like one of the tricks of just something that I intuitively just randomly started doing one day.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty great as far as your awareness on that. Like, um, obviously it worked,
Yeah.
or it works, and that's one of the things too that I think is, putting things into practice, right? And having your own personal
Mm-hmm.
experience and gnosis behind it and through practice and doing things over and over and understanding what works for you, what doesn't work for you, or maybe, hey, this worked and I'm gonna keep practicing it, right? Um, I think that is a beautiful thing in the practice is knowing that, if there's a box, think outside of it, burn it, do what works for you, do what resonates for you, right? Um, because that's when things do ring, through and do ring true when it feels good and
Yeah.
and you know it when it's happening, right?
Oh, totally. And that really I'd cultivated my sleep space at that point to not have I wasn't having night terrors at that point, but I had in the past, had terrible sleep and restless legs and insomnia and night terrors, the chasing, the falling,
Oh yeah.
being
Oh
trapped
yeah.
in a city in a faceless city with massive buildings, all those kind of like dreams. And now, my dreams are more and then I actually went through the phase of traveling so extensively in my dreams, and I woke up exhausted, but I couldn't remember them. So I'm like, what's the point in that? Like I woke up with the feeling that I've went some million different lands in my
Oh
sleep.
yeah.
I was so exhausted. So I was like, I've got to do something about this. And so now when I dream, you've heard my voice notes on my dreams. Sometimes it's like 20 minutes. I'm like explaining what I dreamed to you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
in vivid detail. And so yeah, it's cultivating that space that can be a space where your guides speak to you, your intuition speaks to you, you get messages from source, from angels, from whoever you think it comes from, guides, they'll
Mm.
show up in the way that resonates for you. And that dream that I talked about earlier that was like Dante's Inferno, basically, or going, yeah, through the different layers of hell. And it was like we didn't go through all the layers, but we went down and it was a much more extensive dream than just saying we just went down and looked at something. But I woke up and it was like still there, and I can go back to it now, and it's just like, yeah, a picture. So, if that resonates with people to be able to cultivate their sleep space, or if their sleep space is a traumatic place and you want to cultivate it to be like a space where you get inspiration and you get
Oh
messages,
yeah.
and, like I'm your girl, like let me
Yeah, no, sign
like
me
I
up
help people
because
totally,
Yeah, no, sign me up. I have struggled with that in the
Mm,
past and not remembering my dreams and having that experience where it's, man, I feel tired.
mm,
I
yeah,
know I've been traveling all night. I feel it.
yeah,
I'm exhausted. What happened? I don't know. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I'd like to know, what was it about?
yeah. Exactly. Well, let's get you there. We can let's workshop some of that.
Yeah, and then I wonder too, like, what is it that am I trying to avoid something, or is there something I don't want to connect with, or that I'm fearful of
Yeah.
in a sense, as so, because I've had those dreams I'm falling, or stepping off a ledge, or
Mm,
it's quite interesting. I'll remember stuff that I'm having, like dreams or premonitions for other people,
yeah, wow.
but it's something that I've struggled with when it comes to myself.
Mm, mm, mm,
And that's something I've had to work on too, and I've been working on over the last couple of years, as to what is that?
mm.
What is that I can represent others or speak up for others and not for myself,
Yeah.
and that
Mhm,
and that journey of self-love and self-recognition and showing up for ourselves, right?
mm, mm.
I
So,
think that's been a big part of it.
yeah.
That's what I gathered from it anyways, just trying to understand, what that is.
Mm. Totally. The dream space is like your unconscious mind's way of processing and releasing stuff as well. So, you know,
Mm.
I think if the, yeah,
You trying to tell me I'm holding on to stuff there?
yeah, I wonder if that's another reference point to like your unconscious mind isn't actually holding on to that many shadows anymore based on like your sleep and your dream state. So like that's how you know if you can elevate your dream space to like to be able to expand and travel and go to Lemuria or go to Atlantis or go
Yeah,
to grandma
yeah,
or do whatever or have your guides or whoever
yeah.
come in and talk to you in your dreams. Then maybe that means that the unconscious mind isn't actually holding on to as much density and lower vibrational trauma and shit because it doesn't
Mm,
purge and release. And I recently
no.
did a workshop, a Reiki workshop. It was a two-day workshop, angelic Reiki, and after that, I literally had two nights back to back of like hardcore nightmares. They were the other ones that I told you about. The one with
Oh wow.
the weird machine in the ocean that was like
Oh yeah.
eating all the sharks, and then there was like, and I was wearing Crocs, and it was like a real
That was
like
horrible.
that
That
was
was a
horrible part of
nightmare.
the dream, a nightmare. But yeah, like it was like two nights, and then yeah, like it was like a this is another aspect of NLP therapy. Is like when you learn a new process, your unconscious mind knows, it can tell that you've upgraded your software. You've got a new processing system going on, and so it feels
Ah,
safe to release new shit to be processed, like stuff when you learn things and do this. And that's why they say that when you get on the path of self-development, that it can get fucking really bad before it starts to get better, because you're learning all these new techniques that let the unconscious mind start to drip feed you shit that you need to release because you've learned new processes to deal with it and process it and release it and let it go. And so yeah, so I think yeah, doing that 2-day Reiki workshop, and then I'd just done Yusui Reiki just before that, so I was like in this massive Reiki bubble with
oh,
all
for
these
sure.
Reiki energies coming in. And the Yasui Reiki was like absolutely phenomenal integrations that came through with that. And so, yeah, I think these like nightmares that came up over these two nights was just, yeah, I think it was like collective shit. I don't know if it was mine, because I
Mm,
looked down at the Crocs and I was like, this isn't me. This is
This
not
is
my
not
dream.
mine.
Fuck it out of here. And I left, and then I went into another dream that was really weird, like that guy with the puzzle pieces and stuff I was telling you about. And then I was like, what am I doing here? I was, well, this is not my shit. I left again. So yeah, it's interesting. Like I find the unconscious mind really in the shadow, really fascinating doing the shadow work, going into that. It's magic.
Yeah, I was reading something. I'll have to think about it. It'll probably come to me afterwards.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it's Nietzsche's thought on it.
Oh yeah. That's another
You know,
that's another book that I should just put under my pillow because I find it so hard. I've got two of Nietzsche's books and they're just so hard to read. I'm like, I'm just gonna shove it under my pillow and see what happens.
there you go. There you go. Yeah, it was his view on thought,
Okay.
and how we perceive things, and basically, yeah, it'll come to me.
Mhm. I thought of a cool guided process that we could do actually. So maybe we could do that and see if it comes up for you. Um,
Sure.
so it's this concept of that you can set yourself a psychic gatekeeper. So your gatekeeper is protecting your energy, your energetic field. So anything coming at you, and we do this, we want it to be protecting our energy, and that's something I get really slack with. And then, you get exhausted and you take on other people's stuff.
Oh
So
yeah.
I need to be,
Oh yeah.
and we'll go into this meditation and it's like inviting in like the visual of who you want to be your gatekeeper that is like energetically protecting you. And it could be like a dragon or a wolf or a bear or a gladiator or Hercules or Freya or Kali Ma, Kali Ma would be a great fucking gatekeeper.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, but it's just whoever arrives for you, so yeah.
As you said that, I saw a shadow passing to my left. That's why I looked. I'm like, okay, have they shown up even before I thought about it? Or do I need them to show up now?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, interesting times. As we move forward, and I really love hearing how you've incorporated a lot of this into your practice, and being consciously aware of that, and how it's worked for you,
Mm,
um, and
yeah.
seeing the results of it working for you.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I think as we go back to the whole gatekeepy thing, or a lot of the wounds I've dealt with, um, personally, with you know, trying to be put in a box, and told this is how things should be done, or,
Mhm.
this is how you should say this or do that. Um,
Mhm.
and trying to put a piece of a puzzle somewhere it doesn't belong and make it fit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're like, this does not belong in the picture. This is not how it goes together, and really just allowing ourselves to connect with ourselves. I think, moving forward is has been the biggest thing for me this year, and um honoring myself in every part of the journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, and all the in-betweens, and knowing that it's all a part of it, even the messy parts. The messy parts are the best parts, really have,
Exactly.
yeah, have triggered those inner demons to for ultimate healing and growth, and transmutation and transformation and all that good stuff that hurts so good.
Mhm. Yeah. when you can be, yeah, someone said to me recently, it's like when the life cracks you open so that you can like release what is actually in there that needs to be released, and then allows all this light to flood in, and part of shadow work. And again, Robert Edward Grant, he went on a podcast and they wanted him to wear a light worker hat, and he's like, well, I ain't wearing a light worker hat unless I can wear like something that says shadow work as well, because you've got to be able to do with, I believe, you've got to be able to do both, because
Yeah.
the the further you can go into the dark, the higher you can go, and the higher you can go into the light, the more light you can bring down into these shadows, so you can alchemize them, and release, and that balance between the both, to be able to just be able to be without being triggered and without having buttons that people can press. Watch something the other day and this guy was going on about, oh, but he pressed my buttons and blah 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 blah, and the lady was like, it's not his fault. You, if you didn't have the button, if you didn't have the button to press, then we wouldn't be in this situation. So
Yeah.
it's like, where do you have buttons that people press, and it's up to you to actually like figure out how to get rid of that button so that you're not triggered. And that's what being triggered is: someone's pushing your buttons and aggravating you. But yeah, if you can work through that, and that's that dark and light polarity, if you can balance the both. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's, being a shadow worker, right? And understanding how necessary it is,
Mm.
right? Like I know that because of the darkness, there's light.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Without it, it does not exist.
Yeah. Mm-mm-mm.
It's taking that match into a dark room. The light exists because of the darkness, and not being afraid to go to those spaces
Yeah.
and those places,
And
right?
lean into it. Like, yeah, totally.
I mean, because I
Be
think the
true.
more that, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but the more that we shove it in the closet, it's still there.
Totally. Totally.
It's still there. At some point it's going to keep resurfacing. Those issues are going to keep coming up. The
Yeah.
situations are going to keep coming up until they're ultimately faced dead on and resolved.
Mm.
It'll keep resurfacing in some way and showing its face. And so you're like, okay, maybe I should get a look at this.
Yeah, exactly.
This has become uncomfortable now. Why do I keep seeing the same situation
Yeah,
reoccurring?
exactly. Being able to be, yeah, I said that today in an interview that I did, like to be able to like workshop yourself, to be able to like remove yourself a little bit from it and just like lay it out and just like workshop it a little bit and like get into the nitty gritty and like figure it out without judging yourself too much, and like figure out how you can like release and just let go and be in the present, and yeah, figure that shit out.
Yeah, I mean, the judging ourselves too. I mean, I've noticed like when shit comes about, it's, the first thing I do is I go to me, like I'm like, what is my what is my take on it? What is my part in this, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but at what point is not me?
Mm-hmm.
It might be them, it might be their situation or their shit, and I just so happen to be in the picture, you
Yeah.
know, taking on the shit, or
Yeah.
helping them to move along with the shit, or that person that
Mm.
they need to be triggered to help with their process, and I'm just there in that time, in that
Totally.
space, right?
Totally. And
And I'm just an innocent bystander here,
yeah,
don't shoot
but
the messenger.
why did I bring that to me though? Why did I bring that to me so that it's like in my field as well? And sometimes it's like family
Mm.
and people, but it's like trying to you know,
Yeah, what do I have to learn from this? What is the lesson here, right?
why did I create this for myself? Totally. And yeah, it really is that reflection, and yeah, that critical nature, and like what you judge will constantly show up in yourself and others until you release the judgment of it. And it's usually releasing the judgment of it within yourself first, and then you won't see it in others anymore. So that's kind of where
Mm.
I'm at a little, quite a bit. Like
Mm.
my own judgments, and then noticing that in other people. And so, yeah, like there's some things that I'm workshopping.
Oh, let's not go there. I had that situation today. And I'm like, bam, Sophia, right in your face.
Yeah.
Okay, I see it. All right.
Mhm.
I'm still learning. I'm still growing. And here I thought I knew it all.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. All right, should we go into
Mm,
this process? Let's do this little 10 minutes maybe. Oh,
okay,
guided practice. Yeah, ready? Yeah,
let's do it. Let's do it.
taking some deep breaths and arriving in your body. Every breath that you take, feeling your lungs filling and expanding, each breath a little deeper. And each breath, breathing in the new, releasing what isn't serving on the out breath. Just feeling every breath you take, your body is filling up with this beautiful, brilliant light, whatever color you see: gold, pink, red, orange, green, purple, blue, or all of them. And every breath you take, you feel the color spiraling through your body. You push that color out into your auric field, and push it out into your torus field, further and further out from you. Just taking a deep breath and pushing that color out into your psychic field, how far you feel your psychic field expands. It could be pretty big. It could be the room, the house, your property. Just filling that every breath, your color emanating and starting to swirl white light through it like shooting stars, swirling through that psychic field. Just bringing your awareness to your base chakra, seeing that energy center, your grounded nature, connecting you down into the earth. And from your base, just breathing in and imagining these two snakes at the base. And with every breath you take, they rise and spiral up the center of your being, past all of your chakras, and up through your crown and out the top. And they spiral out through your psychic field. And they rest wherever you feel. They may come and sit on your lap. They may coil up one on each shoulder at your feet. And with this opening of your crown, this swirling, this beautiful indigo ball of energy above your crown center, and feeling into inviting in a guardian for this psychic field of energy within this indigo ball of energy. They appear from it, just allowing the energy of this gatekeeper who is going to protect you psychically in your daily life, in your sleep time. They're protecting you from other people's energy, their psychic attacks, unknown energies around within the life that you walk. And feeling into the being that arrives, the being, the animal, the creature, the god, the goddess. Ask them their name or how they want to be called. And communicate to them how you want them to protect you. You can give them a list, or imagine you're sending a digital email, or it's a scroll, or it's a notebook. However you see yourself giving them this checklist of how they're protecting you psychically, energetically, on the daily. And now just send them out on a perimeter excursion around the edges of your psychic field that you've set up. Letting them know if you have any weak points, usually on your back. You want that to be more protected. Ask them to communicate with you any weak points that they sense within your psychic field where you might need more protection, and allow that connection and communication with suggestions from their highest alignment to protect you. And just feel them anchoring into somewhere in your energetic field where you always know they are. It could be behind you, or to your right, or your left, or above you. If you always want them to be hovering above you, you could send them up a few feet above you, a few meters above. Wherever you feel is the most valuable to you. And that you want them to check your energy 5 times a day, 10 times a day. And that they speak to you when there's something going on in your field. And now you have them anchored in that position where you want them to be. Just feeling into any sensations that they may give you to know that they're communicating with you and that you can just call on them at any time. And if you've sent your psychic field out quite large now, just with every breath you take, just bring that in closer and closer to you. Just bringing that in closer and closer, like a nice egg around you within your auric field, knowing that we can change the range of our psychic field at any time, whenever we want. And to protect ourselves, sometimes we want to bring it back in to within our auric field, our torus field. And feeling your snakes are with you as well. And they may want to reside on a chakra within you, somewhere where you want to have a little bit more awakening. They may curl around your heart and help you shed layers within that area, or your solar plexus, throat, wherever they want to move to, third eye. And they help you shed different layers like they shed their skin. And just bringing some big breaths back into your body, feeling the air move into your lungs, bringing your awareness to your physical body. Just wiggling your toes and your fingers, bringing some movement back to this body, physical body, our physicality. Just patting yourself, give yourself a hug, wiggle, 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 stretch. Yeah, just taking a bit of time to come back if you need. Flicker your eyes open. Remember your gatekeeper's name. Mm. Hey.
You had me traveling there, Nicola.
I'll do a card. You can just integrate a little bit longer. Oh, I've got one already. The devil. Okay. Shedding some layers. This card's really cool. This beautiful artwork. If you turn it around this way, in the shadow, you can see, and he's holding this light.
Is that the devil?
Yeah,
That's what I saw come through right away.
really.
Doing the
Oh, wow.
I heard your girl Anana
Oh,
first thing,
and none.
and then I heard Cersei. I know you just finished the book.
Oh, yeah, Cersei, she's in there. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Power. Beautiful.
yeah. I saw some really like Maleficent. I kept hearing like Maleficent energy, but
Oh,
like powerful. And
over there somewhere too. Amazing.
I was like, whoa, okay, I'm just gonna let it happen.
Boom. Wow, you got lots of powers coming in. That's amazing.
Woo!
That's so good. Oh, I love it. I had a cartoon dog come in and I know the dog, but I don't know what cartoon it's from. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research. But it was like a dog that is like constantly barking at the fence, keeping people away. And it was like zooming around the perimeter. And I pushed my psychic field pretty much all the way to the edge of the little town that I'm in. And it was like zooming around this perimeter, just like barking. So really,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, so that was quite cool.
That's
I've had,
freaking awesome.
yeah, it was quite different because yeah, I've had Freya come in and Freya's been there. So now Freya's got a little dog. Well, it was a bulldog, but it was like a cartoon. It's white and it's got a red collar with studs, and I can't remember what TV program it's from, but yeah, he's in there now and he's fucking guarding that like snow.
That's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, yeah.
You and your dogs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, I was just house sitting, yeah, with two little dogs, and they weren't too barky or anything, but yeah, they were very protective, yeah. So, mm,
I think it's quite beautiful. Your guided meditations, I mean, are just wow,
yeah,
intense.
yeah. I didn't know where that was going to go. Didn't know that we were going to push the psychic field out, and I didn't know the snakes were going to come in. It was just like there's some snakes. Yeah, they're going to go up, and at the end, I didn't know they were going to come in and curl around the chakras until it was happening. And I was like, oh, okay, this is where they're going. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that going through like my body, like from the base of my spine up.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, wow. Mm.
Yeah, very intense.
Oh, maybe it was a bit longer than 10 minutes, like I said it was going to be. But like I say, I'm like, oh, getting shown all this cool stuff.
Serious before we started, I was like, I definitely saw some things and felt some things, and it was like, boom,
Yeah.
just just like, okay, we're gonna show up. And so thank you for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. All good. Well, we could finish up
Yeah.
soon. Is there anything you wanted to finish on for yourself with like your own practice that you want to share? Or is there anything else that's coming through that you want to share on Samhain and which is New Year or anything?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you, if you I know we all are on our own journey and our time and our space and processing a lot and the going in, the going out, the learning,
Mm-hmm.
the unlearning, right? The process, trusting that process, for all those that are continuing on and moments that we may find ourselves maybe discouraged. Is there any words of advice that you would offer from your personal experience, during those rough patches, or things that maybe you've incorporated through your practices that has helped you?
Mm. Yeah, like, sometimes you feel like you've hit rock bottom and then all of a sudden there's another rock bottom and you like I didn't think it could get any further down than this. The fuck. And you're like, and sometimes when I've been in it, I'm like, fuck it, we're here. Let's just go all in, and have the support around you. Have a manifestation buddy or witchcrafting buddy or someone that you share your processes with and you can develop your processes with, and I have that with a friend and we we have our own Facebook group. There's just two of us in there, and we just like we post our inspiration, and we can share vulnerably in there, and you know
Mm.
that that technique of helping myself with my dream space, with like flickering my eyes open and closed and being a weirdo, that came through speaking with that friend and talking about where we're going and how we want to cultivate our lives and tell I was like, I'm gonna try this weird thing, and she's like, yes, you're weird, so we're weird, like just go do the weird thing, like fuck it. Whatever. Let yourself be weird, like let in the dark of it, allow your processes to come out. And whether you share them with the world or not, the things that I'm sharing are the processes that I've done for myself when I was in the depths of the horrible place of the dark night of the soul, of the nervous breakdown, and of the midlife crisis, the Saturn return, Chiron return, whatever you want to call these things,
Yeah,
whenever
yeah.
they happen within your life, whatever they're related to. But if you do have the chance to get your astrological chart and look at it, you know, it can predict when those times are going to come up if you can really look into it and intuitively and have someone that can really look at your chart, and say that this is going to be a really heavy time for you. You can get ahead of
Mm,
it. You can get ahead of it as well. But if you're in it, find your own processes, even if you're not sharing it. Like, find your own meditation that helps you through the anguish. Let yourself have rage. Just let
yeah.
yourself have rage and be with the rage, or be with the sadness, or sit with it. Like, yeah, take the time. And sometimes when you're in the depression, all you have is time because you don't want to do anything else. So, and
Mm,
sometimes we're in that space because we're ignoring it. But we really do have, when we're in that space, all that time to sit with it and be with it and see it. And any emotion only has a finite amount of expression. So
mm,
if you're feeling anger is masking rage, or it's masking something else that's underneath it. So if you can sit with the anger first and speak to it, then the next layer will be revealed. And like I
mm.
said before, that when you start on this journey, you're like, shit's just getting worse. Like, I thought this was supposed to help. It's like, yeah, hey, you've learned these two new techniques. Here's all this baggage that you can now process with those new techniques. It's like,
Yeah.
you
You
know,
said you wanted to learn it, right?
yeah, totally, totally, totally. Surrender into the feeling, and I'm still going through that process as well. Every time I get to a new expansion point, and
Mm,
I've done this past life regression event with two beautiful friends that we co-hosted together, and that was a big expansion point. And then now I'll be running a past life regression workshop, a 90-minute workshop in a circle that's like a paid private circle. And so that's like another expansion point. Resistance coming
mm.
up. There's the blockage. So that's the next thing to workshop through, because see, there's resistance in doing that thing, and that just came up today as a new opportunity. So at each of those expansion points, then there's a new layer to like workshop of yourself, of like, how can I actually push beyond this? Like, find a psychic healer that you love, find a tarot reader that you love, that you always go back to that same person. Sometimes we frish around and we like go to heaps of different people. And you're when I mean, that can be good as well, if you're exploring different modalities, but you're also losing, if you're not going back to the same person that you did resonate with, the development of them understanding your path as well. And then the expansion
Mm-mm.
and the help within that will get deeper because they understand your journey. So it doesn't have to be me. It could, just could be anyone. But just find that maybe one person that you go to, and you always see them. And maybe you have a couple of other different people you frish around, but
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, building that relationship, right? So they can support you in your journey and getting to understand like
Yeah.
what you're dealing with, what you're going through,
Yeah,
and having that support.
definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that's a beautiful thing, as far as magic and our practices.
Mm,
I think through those darkest nights of the soul and deep depression and angst and anxiety,
mm,
um, that magic truly is what's gotten me through that.
mm,
And having the opportunity to connect with something outside of myself or that moment or that instance, and having that guidance that wells up from a place and a space so deep within us that, regardless of how dark it is, there's still that spark of light in there that we just need to fan a little bit.
mm. Exactly. And there's going to be that spark of light. It's like, you know, it's shadow work, but I like to call it wisdom retrieval now. Like you're going into the shadow, but there's
Yeah,
something in there that's worth bringing out. You're not just going into the shadow to be in the chaos. Like, and you talk about chaos magic a lot, and I don't understand too much about chaos magic, but
yeah,
like within the chaos, um, there is going to be wisdom that you can pull out of that when you go into the shadow. So it's finding the perfect.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
Yeah, and I'd love to get more into that, as we progress. And that in itself has been, for me, something that, as a chaot, it's what a lot of chaos magicians may refer to themselves as.
mm,
Um, but it's something over the years that I realized the more that I'd say it found me, in essence, that I was practicing,
mm,
that I'm like, wow, this feels like home. This is
mm,
the answered. I've always struggled with trying to label myself or put myself in a box or define myself by something. People are okay, so you're a witch, or and their misconceptions of what that means, or what you do, and you're
mm,
conjuring up spells in some boiling brew, and you worship the devil, and
mm,
all these misconceptions of what witchcraft is,
mm,
going back to, me being a heretic, and,
mm,
anything that is against the norm, I would have been labeled a witch. I mean, when you talk about, texts like the Malefice, Maleficorum that came in like late um, 14th, early 15th century, 1496, that basically had a papal seal on it. And people took it as a word, to go and further support their witch hunts. How to define a witch. Like crazy shit. Like,
Yeah.
do you have a mole or a wart? How do you balance up to the Bibles? Is it,
Mm,
do you weigh more or less? And
mm,
um, you know, it, there was no way of getting out of it, once you were accused. Um, but from what from what I've experienced is just a lack of understanding or not wanting to understand, because it's out of the norm, or it's scary, or
mm,
because of all the depictions on the witch, riding her broomstick and wearing her pointy hat, and not understanding what all that represents or even means.
yeah.
You know, I put on my pointy hat tonight
I
out of
saw that. It looks
out
good.
of yeah. Well, one, it's keeping my head warm,
Yeah.
but when you and that in itself goes back to
Mm,
so many different strains of history, all the way back to Mesopotamia,
mm,
to the Sumerians. I mean, to the Turkish people, to um, Germans and farmers, and there's so much history behind that. Wise women, the witch that wore the hat, so they could be recognized in the marketplace. Folk practitioners, people knew that they could go to you for for healing or an herbal remedy, or they were farmers or beer makers, and um, you know, there's just so much history behind them. And so, I think a lot of it on the end that I'm in now is even what I'm doing with my conservation projects is, how do we preserve and conserve by educating, right? And hoping that you can educate those to maybe where they have a little bit better of an understanding. Um, Even when I look upon the world I'm living in now, and the times I'm living in now, and this disconnect and this separation that people are trying to force and segregate and pull people apart instead of helping us to connect, you know, rewriting that history in a sense. When I look back in the history of practitioners, witches, midwives, people just doing their thing and honestly just trying to bring health and healing to people that were persecuted because of that. Um, Really, truly, that's what we're trying to do, you know. Um, so in hope that we can confidently express ourselves and be true to who we are. Um, in my journey, it's been connecting to that wisdom, as you say, right? Reconnecting or plugging into ourselves, you know, in all, timelines, and bringing them together as to what do I need to know now,
Yeah.
moving forward, and how can I apply this now? What does it mean? I feel that all of it has been a part of the journey and holds some significance, right? So what can we do to tap into that, to apply it for what's needed in this time and space? What knowledge am I seeking to retrieve, and why?
But then being able to apply it, like you're saying, and I struggle with that. And that's one of the things that, for me, it's another expansion point. It's like, okay, I know a lot, and I've applied a lot, but there's things that you're like, I know this, and I should be doing this again. Yes, you should be doing this. Apply it, apply it, apply it. And that's the people that walk around and they've got like 10 degrees, but they're not working in any of those things. They've learned it all, but they're not applying it.
Yeah,
You know, there's a point where we're absorbing, and you can absorb, absorb, absorb. And quite often that's like, once you've been through the dark night of the soul and you've been cracked open, then you're really absorbing, absorbing. And you're like, how is this making me more of who I actually want to be? And so what you just said with the applying that wisdom is where the forward momentum in your life will happen, because otherwise you're just collecting books on a shelf. And I do that. There's lots of books that I haven't read yet, but
yeah,
maybe
yeah,
I'll put Nietzsche's under my pillow tonight. But
yeah. I'm right there with you.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, everything is true, but nothing is true, is one of those things that keeps me questioning, as to keeping an open mind to question everything, removing any attachments or dogmatism, when I think about like my journeys and wanting to understand these things from a very young kid, and trying to understand how and why it's all happening, where I'm at and what am I doing here. Um, and broadening that scope, right? And then finding myself at a point where it was like, I have nothing. I have no books. I own nothing. Like I'm just gonna experience it.
Mm.
Like, and I'm a collector of books. I think they're beautiful for what they are, but I've maybe read a small percentage of them. A lot of it has been just letting it happen.
Yeah,
That's where I've learned the most.
definitely.
Um, and through that experience, and I guess, you know, um, for me, like, healing that witch wound, so to say, and making these connections, it's been beautiful when the connections do happen, and I can share time and space like this with lovely souls as yourself, and knowing that it feels good and it feels right, and it's a beautiful thing to connect like this, because I've found myself like in solitude in a sense, for things that I've experienced, and hurt and betrayal and instances, and self-betrayal and self-hurt, and healing through all of that stuff, and you know on this journey of self-discovery, and knowing that it's all just been a part of the journey, and a lot has helped with that. And I think a big part of that has been keeping an open mind as to, there's something to be learned from everything. If I go back to, like, I studied a lot of Eastern philosophy and Hinduism, and my younger years, Buddhism, and how that has helped with letting go,
Yeah.
helping me to let go, and attachment as suffering, and using those principles to really help me release in ways that maybe I had struggled with before.
Mm.
And so it's all a part of the journey. And I think if I could share anything with anyone is, don't put yourself in a box,
Mhm.
and and by all means, please don't allow anybody else to do that for you.
Mhm.
And if they do, kick it to the side and throw it in the flames, burn
Yeah.
it up.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm younger. I'm in my early 40s, and I've always been very inquisitive, and I've always, had this burning desire to learn. And I started really young.
Mm.
And that's a trauma that I've dealt with, is a lot of people in the gatekeeping and the bullshit, and trying to direct me and or how I should do things because of my age or what I'm doing, or I'm not this advanced, or I don't know this. um and allowing that to really kind of lead to like a depression, and um you know lack of connection, in the sense of um and truly not allowing myself to expand in those ways because of how others may perceive what I'm doing or how I'm doing it,
Mm. 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 Yeah.
and it can be a blockage in a sense.
Mm.
And so I think a big, like, over the hump thing for me has been letting that shit go, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
um,
Totally.
and learning to accept yourself for who you are, and that it's okay to be curious. Like, if there's something you want to learn about or know, whatever it is, do it.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Oh man, Sophie, I'm a necromancer. I work with the dead. You can't do this. Oh, you need to protect it. All this fears of
Yeah.
the unknown and whatnot that, unfortunately, I have personally allowed myself to get in my head about it,
Mm.
because it's, everybody's thoughts or ideas on it,
Mm.
right?
Your projection, their own projections onto it, onto you.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Or onto.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even if you're not confident in the practice or doing it, the way you learn is by doing it.
Yeah. Totally.
Like, at
Yeah,
what
yeah.
point are you
Fuck
going to
around
keep
and find
thinking
out.
about it? Yeah, I can keep thinking about it, talking about it, reading all the books, watching all the videos. But until you get in there, get your hands dirty and do it, you're not going to know.
Yeah.
Oh shit, maybe I need to ward this or do that, or I've had this experience.
Mm.
I really need to tighten it up over here.
Mm.
You learn those processes, you refine those processes, you find ultimately what works for you
Mm.
and what rings true for you. And that's where it's at, right? That's where the magic is. That's where your personal magic is. That's where that flame is. Then
Mm.
you learn to fan that flame so you can grow
Yeah.
and learn and
Totally.
develop and refine.
I love,
And
yeah, I love it.
yeah, it's a work in progress, man.
Totally. Totally. But it is the refining. And what you just said is so powerful. And, it's a beautiful way to finish and to wrap up on that point. Like you've just really brought everything home to like, it's a refining and be true to yourself and create your practice however you want with like overlapping modalities and creating your own rituals and understanding it and making mistakes and fuck around and find out and yeah,
Exactly.
make the beds and figure it out and come out of it, and totally.
I mean, because you think about it, if everything went smooth all the time, how would we learn?
It would be boring, wouldn't it? I think it would be boring. Like we complain about, well, but it would be boring.
I
Yeah,
mean, when you think about like some of the greatest discoveries in science, some of the greatest things that have come about, it's from that person that said, "Mm, I know this method has been used. I know this formula has been used all this time, but I'm kind of interested in what might happen if I did this,
yeah, mm, totally.
right? What
Yeah,
might happen if I put my own spin into
yeah,
this deep past life transgression and incorporated these elements to it to make it even better?
totally.
To
Like
you
look at this ancient thing and think about it in a different way, and you can discover all these new things from it. Yeah, just to maybe finish on this is like the Robert Edward Grant again. He's been just dissecting the Vitruvian Man, the Leonardo da Vinci Vitruvian Man, the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
man out, and he's linked it back to Egypt and all of the different history mythos that they have within that. And they know that Leonardo spent a lot of time in Egypt. And so when Robert Edward Grant went recently there with the Vitruvian Man, he had a printout of it, and he was like, "Well, this lines up with this." And these circles, you could call them chakra points. They're like seeds of life that kind of ripple up. Apparently,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and it's
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. And he said, well, these ones lay up with these chambers within the Great Pyramid. And he's like, so if that's true, then these other ones should be chambers within the Great Pyramid. And they went there to do throat chakra activation. I don't know how many people, maybe there's like 20 people or something. He got together, people who are like amazing people in their fields of whatever they do in terms of like, singing to activate and beautiful, channelers and chanting and all of these things that he took with them. And they were doing all these throat chakra activations within the Great Chamber because he has access to that. And apparently he can go and spend the night there. I don't know. Well, he said if you've got enough money.
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
you've got enough money, you can go spend a night in the fucking King's Chamber and the Great Pyramid. Anyway, they just,
Goals.
yeah, goals, exactly, like major goals. And and so now they've discovered another chamber where he said it would be within the Great Pyramid. And if that, like, they called it something different, but he's like, that's the throat chakra pyramid. And that's what they went to do, was to activate this. And this is all just recently, in the last
Wow. Wow.
6, 8 months, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. And yeah, these are recent YouTube videos that I've been watching of his. So, trippy, eh? You know, and his background was a CEO for a pharmaceutical company, and like fucking look what he's doing now. Like you just don't know where your life path can go. You're like,
No.
yeah, one
Yeah, you
doing
don't.
that, and then the next minute, just yeah,
And that goes back to what I was thinking, as far as like we are what we perceive, right? Or what we project or what we bring into action,
mm,
right? The power of our mind and our thoughts.
mm,
And so,
yeah, and to
it's
trust the process.
really, Yeah, trusting
Process.
the process.
Your own
Um,
internal process, trusting it. Mm.
and that is, it may be easier said than done. I mean, we've walked through the fire, girl. Shit, I know,
Yeah.
but we grow through it, right? We're molded through it. We're born from those ashes, right? We rise up,
Rise up.
and
Yeah.
sometimes the heat needs to be turned up. Sometimes it's cranked up.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're sitting on a beach in chill mode.
Yeah.
It's where we go, right? Oh, where the mind goes.
Mm.
um but I think, through it all, what has rang through for me at multiple turning points in this journey has been, I've got to be true to myself.
Mm.
If I can't be true to myself, how can I be true to anyone else for that matter?
Yeah.
And
It was
so,
3 hours, 33 minutes, and 3 seconds when you said that, we've been not the live feed, but since we've been on Zoom, you and me together, it was right when you said that.
wow,
Yeah.
that number came up for me last night when we were driving back from the Grand Canyon, and that's a whole story I have to share with you. But I was looking at the mile marker 333,
Yeah. Wow.
and we had our aunt with us who's like, "Oh, Sophie, 333." The same moment I saw that, and she was sitting in the back of the
Oh,
freaking RV,
wow.
and it was like some Native American like point in the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been showing up a lot. Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff that came up.
Yeah.
Um, Places that I found myself,
Yeah.
uh, pueblos,
Mm.
kivas, certain ruins that I was visiting at the time that either the sun was rising or setting and the light was passing through the windows at that very moment.
Beautiful.
Um, it was mind blowing,
Yeah.
crazy. But
Phenomenal.
again, projections of the mind, right? What we're seeing in that timeline for that reason, the purpose, that spark, that inspiration.
Yeah. Oh,
If
totally.
you keep your eyes and your heart open, you'll see,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
But it's
Oh.
but it's when we close off things, right? Let's
Mm.
pull ourselves out of the fucking dark. Let's get ourselves out of the closet.
Mm.
Um, and let's stand proudly as practitioners and witches, and
Mm.
come together and support one another and lift each other up in this time and this space that we
Mm.
may go forth and heal and teach and
Mm.
inspire and learn and grow.
Totally. Even if you're just teaching your kids or your brother or your family members, like you don't have to be teaching and, this for your job, but even if you're learning and you're teaching the people around you, you know, that's,
And keeping an open heart too, Nicola, man. I'm telling you, yeah, I appreciate our wise women and our crones and all those that have gone before us and all those that are doing it. And, there's something beautiful in years and years of practice and sharing the knowledge and the wisdom you gain from practice.
Mhm.
But man, I've had the opportunity to work with these nature programs, and I was out last weekend and spent some time with some kids.
Mhm.
And I asked him, I go, dude, they had went on a hike. It was a group of like Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, and we had like some over 331 visitors they had counted.
Wow.
And I asked the kid, how old are you? Because he seemed very wise for being a young kid. He's like, I'm 5. I was like, what?
Whoa.
You're 5? I was like, so, and again, I'm humbled in the sense of 5, 35, 85.
Mhm.
If you keep your mind and your heart open, there's nature and things will always teach us and show us somehow, some way.
Mhm.
And I guess those are my words of encouragement. Beauty is all around us
Yeah.
all the time. If you keep your eyes and your mind open to it.
Mhm. It really is amazing. Oh.
And each day is an opportunity. And so I'm looking forward in this new year as we celebrate and you're springing forward there, um, planting those seeds,
Mm.
trusting the process
Yeah.
that what I water will grow into something beautiful.
Mm. Water with your attentions. Yeah. Mm, mm, and
Right.
intention. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah. Mm, I love that. Mm. I'm taking forward that too. Leaning in and yeah, just letting it be so that myself can just arrive more, allowing yourself to arrive more within, you know, yeah, the environment, other people, stepping out more, bolder, mm,
That
truer.
warrior spirit, right?
Yeah, the peaceful
The
world.
warrior spirit.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, the warrior spirit. All right, let's finish on that. Those last few words are really beautiful of the intention, yeah, within where we're at. So it's been absolutely
Yeah.
amazing.
I
Can
managed to keep
you?
the fire burning
Oh, you did?
a little bit. Let
Yeah,
me see if I don't know if I can flip this around.
you should be able to.
Hmm.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So
Nice.
that's it. That's it for my logs, guys. I've actually had this pit sitting here all through the seasons of the year, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Um, I had some eucalyptus in here earlier, some rosemary, and some other herbs, along with some wax burnings I had through my workings of the year. So, quite timely as we move forward into the new year, um, as we celebrate the tradition, right? This Celtic tradition. Fire. Fire was a resource that was used in the community, guys, helping to bring people together over the fire, right? Share stories, honor our ancestors, um, and the flames also offering protection for the community as well. Um, so as we step forward in our communities and our spaces, from the AZ to the NZ and everywhere in between, wherever you're at, may we continue to show up where we're at, just as we are, being true to ourselves, moving forward in wealth, in health, prosperity, and abundance in every way, each day, being thankful and grateful for every opportunity we're given, to let our lives shine, to be true to ourselves, to work our magic, to be badass witches and badass bitches, and show up and grow up and continue planting those seeds of hope and love and passion and desire to keep that fire burning within your heart. And from my flame to yours, may we keep it lit.
Beautiful.
And may we move forward and honoring all those that were wrongfully tried and persecuted, and all those that have gone before us, and knowing that I honor that sacred, wise woman within myself. And in honor of them, that I will move forward and share my healing, my herbs, my love, and support for those in the community around me. And hope that we can move forward, everyone, without fear, and letting that past be shed, and letting what no longer serves us be burned in the flames and transformed into something beautiful.
Yeah. The Phoenix. Mm-mm-mm.
Growth and expansion.
Yeah.
Those are my words of power moving forward into the new year. How about you, girlfriend?
Yeah, I think receiving and allowing. Yeah.
Ooh, that's powerful. That is fucking powerful. And on that note, we've got to reconnect and let's get into that. Let's
Mm,
get into that our next episode.
yeah, let's make those, let's workshop those. Yeah.
Growth, expansion, receiving, and allowing. That is fucking powerful.
Mm, fuck yeah. Big. Because two of them are going out. Yours are like growth and expansion, and then mine is like allowing to come in, like the balance, the opposite. Like
The balance.
totally. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All
Heck
right.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sophia, for joining me this evening. It's been, yeah, so incredible. Like I know that we could just keep talking for another.
I know. And thank you, Nicola, for your wealth and wisdom and sharing that beautiful oracle spread and your words of wisdom, your thought, your insight. I'm always so delighted every time we connect because I learn something new and it always brings a smile to my face. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I love that poetry that you bring to what you share when just that beautiful closing with the fire that you did, the intentionality that you really bring into the space with your words and your wisdom and your insight and your, yeah, analogies from the life that you bring in and the wisdom that you can bring out of these daily, things that
Mhm.
come up. Are really
Thank you for that, Nicola.
potent. So thank you. Yeah.
Heck yeah. Right
Yeah.
back at you. Hey man, it
Oh,
takes one
yeah.
to know one.
Totally. Cool.
Oh man, you badass bitch, or I'd say you badass witch. Cheers to all you witches, wizards, and warlocks out there. Happy New Year to you. May we allow, receive, expand, and grow. And what do you know? Let's continue to support and lift each other up from our space to yours, from the AZ.
To the NZ.
Shit, yeah.
Coming at
In
you.
this time and space. Let's look forward to connecting again. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Witchy Talk and wishing you a spooktacular celebration.
Indeed. All right. Amazing.
So
Thank
much
you.
love.
Peace out. Bye.